We say good morning. Thank you so much for joining us here on Breakfast Central on News Central. It is a Wednesday morning, and I must say it's a wet Wednesday morning. WWM, maybe that's what you want to call it. I'm Joe Hansen reporting for duty, and this morning, so many stories to talk about, so many things happening in the Nigerian political space. Not forgetting too, there are indeed updates on some of the big stories. Now, if you have been following Breakfast Central here on News Central right from Monday, you would indeed remember that just like yesterday, we did talk about the FCT minister and the little back and forth conversations that's gone between himself and, of course, not forgetting to the senator, talking about the one and only a woman who's representing Labour Party right there at the assembly. But then again, that conversation has taken a different turn. Well, the reason is because there are reactions coming from other Nigerians who simply say that it is indeed a wrong statement to be made by the FCT minister, talking about the former governor of River State, otherwise known as Nyesom Wike. But then again, that's one story. Now, one of the big stories again that's indeed making the rounds is that which has got to do with the richest man in Africa. We're talking about Aliko Dangote, who has come out to say that 30% coming from the Central Bank of Nigeria, which happens to be a major situation in terms of development, in terms of businesses, in terms of growth. Now, Aliko Dangote spoke yesterday for the first time, and this got Nigerians talking that indeed it's starting to touch everybody. Because Aliko Dangote did say that the way the country is indeed going and the way things are indeed becoming very expensive, most importantly, when it comes to investments and infrastructure and development, it's going to be a big problem. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria did have an event yesterday in Abuja, and he happened to be a speaker when he gave his keynote address, looking at the current banking system, how it indeed affects businesses in Nigeria. The richest man in Africa did speak very tough, and in other words, he made it clear, indirectly, that it's going to be a very chaotic situation, especially in the economic climate here in Nigeria. Now, that's just one big story that everyone is talking about, especially looking at the fact that if the richest man in Africa could be indeed expressing himself this way, how much more of other Nigerians like you and I? Well, besides that, we're also going to look at other big stories. For the first time, the governors from the eastern part of Nigeria have indeed come together to speak in one voice. Looking forward to meet with Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to tell him to actually do his best to ensure that Nnamdi Kanu actually gets freedom. He gains his freedom eventually. But that's one conversation we'll also have here on Breakfast Central. In the meantime, let's tell you that you too can be part of the program by simply following us on all socials. And not just that, you can also share what your thoughts are on the numerous stories we'll be looking at later on this morning. Also, let us know what the rains are indeed doing to your own area as well. But that's not just all as well. Let's tell you that we'll be having the papers later on today, where you can also join us and let us know what the papers indeed, what the stories on the front page of the papers have in store and what you think about them. Plus, let's also let you in that our guests are indeed ready and set to go. But in the meantime, Judith will also be joining us later on to bring to us breakfast headlines. In the meantime, let me also tell you this. Follow us on all socials. It's at News Central TV, and get ready to dial the phone number once the phone lines are indeed on the screen. But first off, let's talk to Judith this morning. Good morning to you, Judith.
Good morning, Joe. How are you doing?
Not bad, not bad. Big stories, and most importantly, stories emanating from the southeastern part of Nigeria, where the governors in their meeting have indeed decided to speak in one voice for the first time. Joining one man who indeed spoke 2 days ago. I'm talking about the Labour Party candidate known as Mr. Peter Obi, who had indeed said that he thinks it's high time that Nnamdi Kanu gains his freedom. And now you did have the southeastern governors who met just yesterday, a few hours ago, and they're coming forward to say it's indeed time that they would indeed make a move to the president and tell him to indeed finally ensure that this man you see on the screen there gains his freedom. What's your thought on that, by the way?
Look, I would say this. Is it a high time that this is settled for once? Yes. Do I think that the judiciary should have done the right thing? And I mean, there are many peculiarities with this particular incident that have stretched out and gone beyond normalcy in terms of what the law and the judicial system ought to have done. And so if they're coming together in one voice, I would say it's been long overdue. Get this out of the way. But also, is this a distraction to what is actually Nigeria is being faced, we're facing as a people, as a nation, as a country? That's another conversation entirely. But this has to be done once and for and out so we can face the real matters and situations at hand.
Absolutely. Let's not forget that you also have other governors, the former CBN governor, Chukwuma Soludo, who has always lent his voice to say that it's high time for his release. And this time, it's a conglomerate. You now have the entire Southeastern governors now agreeing to speak in one voice, which for many, it seems like it's high time there's going to be a headway. Well, aside from that story, another story did break at just late in the night of an EFCC official killing himself in the Federal Capital Territory. Quite a sad one. This is coming barely after days where EFCC officials were seen assaulting members or workers of a hotel somewhere here in Lagos, Nigeria. Then you also have EFCC as well in the news, where the EFCC head has come out to say that corruption is indeed eating deep in Nigeria, making the Nigerian system completely heading towards a comatose. And that would indeed affect the economy. I don't know your thoughts about these stories and much more. Better still, what stories has indeed made it for you ever since you woke up this morning?
Look, as per the comments again, our hearts go out to the officials that took his life. Again, mental health issues are issues that need to be discussed. If you have suicidal ideation, please reach out to the right professionals and to your family and friends and let them know what you're going through. To have suicidal ideation and taking your life is a different thing. I think life is worth living, and everyone, if you're going through this and watching this now, please reach out to somebody and speak to the right professionals. That aside, the EFCC boss makes a very clear case, but I think what's the saying, Joe? It's coming from inside the house. You know what I mean? Like, it's coming from inside the house when you think about it in and of itself, because the truth of the matter is that your officials as well, we've seen them use excessive force, brutality, and also not sticking to the script when it comes to what their role and the description of their job ought to be, you know. And they have done things that are corrupt in that sense. It doesn't matter if it's financially or, you know, a craft, but the most important thing is if you're dishonest, if you do not obey the rule, abide by the rule, you are a corrupt individual. And so there are things that they have done in the entirety of the history of EFCC and this past couple of months that they have to look inside and say, okay, look, maybe as an organization, we need to set the standard for the society to emulate. So you should look inside the house.
All right. Anyway, I think one last story that's done it for me. Hopefully in the course of the show, we'll also get to talk about it. It's a sad story that's indeed reared its ugly head again. A father decided to leave his family and go to work, only for him to hear that the entire family have actually been kidnapped. And it's not just being kidnapped, but they've also, the kidnappers have reached out to them and they're asking for an awkward sum of money. We're talking about 300 million. Not just that, just like one of the stories we did bring to the fore here in Nigeria on News Central, we do hear that the first son has indeed been killed. Now, this is a sad story. It's a developing story. The hashtag is online. It's hashtag Gimbas. Victor, the first son of the Gimbas, we hear has been killed by the kidnappers. And we're talking about a family of 4 children, 4 lovely, beautiful kids. It kind of like brings goosebumps to my body. But then again, I just had to drop it here this morning. It's a sad story. The family is asking Nigerians to quickly gather around them, help them, scream it out loud so that the president could hear, the security forces could hear, they could swing into action and do all they can. We're talking about Kaduna State now. That's where it's going down. So one of the posts there by Dr. Folu on social media, she says, Please, Nigerians, help us. Victor, the first son of the Gimbas, has been killed by the kidnappers. Please help us raise awareness so the government and the security agencies can sit up and act. His dad has gone to identify the body of his son in the morgue. He would have been 15 in October. This is why I take a deep breath and I don't know what to say. And that's a tweet there. She says, I want to share what my friend is going through. He was on work trip when his whole family was kidnapped from their house in Kaduna on Sunday. They're asking for 300 million naira by the end of today. He's a government doctor. He's confused and scared. Hashtag save the Gimbas. If you have any information about this, please don't forget to reach out to the security operatives. Please feel free to also say a word or two in prayer for the Gimbas. You cannot imagine, neither can I or anyone can imagine the feeling of losing a loved one. Judith, your thoughts on this before we go straight to the breakfast headlines?
Joe, time and time again, we see stories like this, and we see Nigerians call for help and crowdfund for ransom money to get their loved ones, their friends, their relatives, wards, wives, spouses, children, uncles, aunties. The question is, when will it end? That's the question. And now we have a 14-year-old boy who's lost his life months towards his 15th birthday. He wasn't roaming around. He wasn't on the street late at night. He wasn't, doing anything he ought not to be doing. He was at home in the safety and the confines of his home with his mother and siblings, and he was taken away, and now his life is cut short. There is no words except sadness and hope that Nigeria fixes itself from the inside.
Very sad. It brings to mind the statements usually made, may Nigeria not happen to us. I mean, it's quite sad. What a sad way to start the show this morning, looking at some of the big stories from a fortnight, and some we'll be talking about, and then, of course, bringing it up with this one. We just had to talk about it, and we'll get to talk about it again. All right, Judith, we'll join you again for Breakfast Headlines. But first, let's let Nigerians know what we have in store. Let's take a look at our top stories for today on a Wednesday, the 3rd of July, 2024. Today, reps probe misuse of 2 trillion naira funds by MDAs in 8 years. We do hear that it could even be more than that. Let's also tell you that Imo Assembly suspends 4 lawmakers of impeachment plot. One story you do not want to miss. Let's find out how it indeed went down. Former President Obasanjo Southeast Governors, a partner for Nnamdi Kanu's release. One big story that's making the rounds. The federal government, UNICEF, launched $4 billion sector-wide approach in healthcare. We do have that report and we'll bring it to you. Plus, we'll be talking about what's on the front pages of the papers. Stick around. Breakfast Headlines up next.
And let's begin Breakfast Headlines by telling you that the Director General of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Jide Idris, has said a total of 2,102 suspected cholera cases and 63 deaths have been recorded across 33 states and 122 local government areas since the beginning of the year as of June 30th, 2024. Idris said this on Tuesday at a press briefing in Abuja. He said 7 of the top 10 states, Lagos, Bayelsa, Abia, Zamfara, Bauchi, Katsina, Cross River, Ebonyi, Rivers, and Delta, that contribute about 90% of the cases are southern states. And go on now to Borno State, where the House of Representatives on Tuesday alleged that the female suicide bombers responsible for the killing of scores in Borno State on Saturday were imported. The lawmakers said this in a resolution after considering a motion of urgent national importance by Ahmed Jaha. While condemning the attack, Jaha stated that findings showed that bombers were recruited, brainwashed, and imported from outside the state to carry out the suicide act in Gwaza. The attack had claimed over 30 lives. And on to Kano State, where a Kano court has adjourned the hearing of the Emirate Tussle between Aminu, Bayero and Lamido Sanusi to July 4th to entertain all applications and originating motions. The ongoing Kano Emirate Tussle court case as of May 27th had the Attorney General, Speaker of the Kano State House of Assembly and the Kano State House of Assembly asking the court to grant an order of interim injunction restraining the 15th Emir, Bayero, and 4 other dethroned emirs from parading themselves as emirs has been adjourned at the Kano State High Court. And on to Imo State, where the Speaker of House of Assembly, Chike Olemang, on Tuesday announced the suspension of 4 members for an alleged plot to impeach the Speaker. The suspended lawmakers, including Aha Azu Mbize, Samuel Utibe, Ezeniete Mbise, as well as Henry Agbasonu, Okigwe Chidebere Ogbonikpa, and Ura West Dominic Ezerioa. The Speaker said the decision to suspend them was taken at the executive session. And on to still in West Africa, 3 political parties, including the National Democratic Rally, the National Liberation Front, and the Future Front, have called for Algeria's president to run for a second term. With 2 terms to go before the presidential election scheduled for September 7th, 2024, the president has not yet revealed his intention to seek re-election. And on to East Africa, where Kenyan police fired tear gas to scatter small crowds in the capital, Nairobi, on Tuesday after youth activists called for fresh protests following deadly violence during anti-tax hike demonstrations last month. Activists have stepped up their campaign against President William Ruto, despite his announcement last week that he would not sign into law a controversial finance bill that triggered what he has branded treasonous protest. On Tuesday morning, Nairobi's Central Business District, the focus of previous rallies, saw shops closed and police periodically firing tear gas at small crowds that had gathered. And that's all on Breakfast Extra, Breakfast Headlines. I almost said Breakfast Extra there. My name is Judith TV. It's back to Joe and Olive.
Thank you so much, Judith. I mean, it's well understood. It's breakfast headlines, and then, of course, it's breakfast extra for the weekend. And today's a Wednesday, so you're getting very close to the weekend, so it's only normal that you get ready for that. Anyway, thanks for those stories, and most importantly, the sad events that took place in the north, the bombings in Borno, and it's gotten everyone talking. Let's see, we do have an update in the course of today's broadcast. And most importantly, I'm sure by 9 a.m., when you come back with the breakfast headlines, you'll have more updates on that, right?
Oh, thank you so much.
All right. Okay, great. Anyway, you've heard breakfast headlines here on News Central's Breakfast Central. Let's quickly gear you on and tell you that you can be part of the program. You have our social media handles right there on the screen. Go ahead and let's indeed interact and let us know what you think about the stories. You can also watch us live. We're streaming on YouTube. Also, not forgetting Facebook, and you can find us on Twitter. In the meantime, one big story would lead to another. After the break, we'll bring to you all the top stories. Stay with us. You're watching News Central here. This is Breakfast Central. Well, in a bid to improve healthcare delivery services, the Nigerian government is collaborating with UNICEF and other development partners to launch a centralized funding system. The centralized funding system has earmarked $4 billion to bolster healthcare services in the country. UNICEF Health Manager Dr. Clement Adams highlighted this initiative during a strategic engagement with stakeholders from Northeast states. News Central's Umaru Kirawa completes the report.
The health indices in Nigeria, from maternal and child death to average lifespan of an individual, still remains a major source of concern. This negative indices is worsened by the poverty level and insecurity in some parts of the country. Experts in the health sector and both the federal and state government representatives are here to discuss the launch of a unified initiative to enhance access to quality healthcare in the country.
The federal government decided to bring the wide sector approach, and then this is a roadshow that we came for introduction to all the Northeast, all our commissioners and the executive secretaries, all the other important dignitaries are here to discuss the matter, to see how we can join hands together and produce what we call annual operation plan.
What we're seeking to do is to ensure that we are all speaking together as each other, with the states, the Federal Ministry of Health, and all partners. If you see the sector-wide approach has already had a pledge of $4 billion that will be coming as additional money in helping to ensure that health services are improved. The President of the Republic of Nigeria has already promised that through that we'll be increasing the number of primary healthcare facilities to 17,000.
An approach which is a game changer in Nigeria, because Nigeria has got indices that are, globally rated as the poor or the worst in the world.
The stakeholders have charted the course to commit to agreed policy, expenditure and institutional frameworks, as well as strong accountability mechanisms.
13 areas where the problems seem to be central, and then we're going to work in together to address those needs.
Professor Babagana Omar Zulum's government has created a drugs and medical consumables agency. This agency is now functional.
So UNICEF is taking the lead to support them so that they can roll this out and coordinate all partners in all states so that we all can be on the same page and ensure that we're all implementing this at the right way so that we can achieve the results that we all deserve.
Encompassing 18 objectives with 4 pillars, the sector-wide approach seeks to provide a robust and easy access to healthcare delivery services in each of the 6 geopolitical zones of Nigeria. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
And there you have it. Great story there. Good news, especially for health care practitioners and most importantly for Nigerians, a partnership that we hope would work like many other partnerships. I do not know what your thoughts are, but Oliver Modi has been here for a while, and most importantly, I'm sure that your thoughts could be same as mine, looking at the fact that Nigeria's healthcare system indeed needs a boost.
Well, it's a challenge that a number of us have complained about. The healthcare system isn't one that is the strongest, else we wouldn't have had people traveling around the country. And I don't think that our healthcare sector has the challenge that it has because of the, inadequate hands. I don't think it's the fact that we have inadequate hands. I just think that systems and structures are not set up in a way to guarantee the best quality of health. This brings in mind again to the conversation that was had at the beginning of the show, the conversation about a doctor that is kidnapped. It is things like these that would lead to brain drain and lead to some of our best hands fleeing the country. And we'll keep conversing about our healthcare. So I do think that all of them are largely intertwined, whilst we also need to converse that we have, state-of-the-art medical facilities, that our budget, we are, apportioning a large chunk of our budget to healthcare because it is important. They say that I've said a middle-class person, but I don't know if there's middle class again, but that you're just one illness away from losing everything that you have. But if we keep seeing situations where our healthcare professionals do not feel safe enough to be able to practice their healthcare here, this is more and more of the problems that we're going to keep talking about. But we'll come back to talk more about it. Let's head to Imo State. The Imo State House of Assembly suspended 4 lawmakers on Tuesday for allegedly plotting to impeach the Speaker, Chike Olemgbe. The affected lawmakers are Chidebere Ogbunipa, Sam Otuibe, Henry Agbasono, and Dominic Israel. Now, the suspension was announced by the Speaker himself, citing the lawmakers' attempt to hatch an impeachment plan and incite other members against him. According to the Speaker's Chief Press Secretary, Peter Uwa, no member of the House of Assembly moved the motion for these suspensions. It came as an announcement from the Speaker. Joining us this morning is the head of Chambers, Aladum, and co-legal consultant, Ifeanyi Aladum, and the State Publicity Secretary, APC Imo State, Kajetan Duke. Good morning, Kajetan Duke. Thank you very much for joining us. Kajetan Duke, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. So can you give us a quick picture of what exactly is going on? It's a bit of a concern to hear about the arbitrary dismissal of the lawmakers. Is this something within the power of the Speaker? Is this something that is empowered to do? What exactly is happening in Imo State?
Yeah, well, thank you, my sister. Like I have always maintained, the Imo State House Assembly is an independent organ of government. Is a very independent organ of government that functions at its own pace. And the activities of the House Assembly is within the ambit of the law, and that they are very independent in the discharge of their activities. As a political party, we do not interfere with the activities of the House of Assembly. But like I told some people yesterday, the suspension of the 4 honorable members of the House of Assembly yesterday by the Speaker of the House of Assembly is a parliamentary business that we do not intend to question the rationale behind it. The truth of the matter is that the 4 lawmakers who suspended are members of our party, and it is our intention that before the end of work today, we will be able to hear from the majority leader of the House of Assembly, who will be briefing the party on what happened, because we are not members of the House of Assembly, and we are not privy to the activities or the activities that may have made to the suspension of the honorable members. But I want to guarantee you that it is the responsibility of the House to so discipline any member of the House in which whose actions or inactions may have contravened the rules of engagement. It is not out of place, and we believe that disciplinary measure is one of the machineries the House of Assembly put in place worldwide to checkmate or to ensure or to guarantee the stability of the House. So we are not saying that it's not out of place. It is not a new thing, and we are not oblivious of the fact that disciplinary measures are also part of the legislative activities of the House. So it is not a new thing, and we intend that before the end of work today, we will be able to hear from the majority leader, who will be able to brief the party or leadership of the party on what happened and the way forward.
Okay, so are you saying that because you're not aware of parliamentary activities, I mean, if I hear you correctly, you're saying that it's okay for him to have suspended these 4 lawmakers without, recourse to the House, unilaterally suspending them? Are you saying that? Are you saying, maybe on behalf of your party, that it's okay for that to have happened?
No. You see, I cannot say that he literally suspended the 4 House members, because presently, I can speak to you, I was not there, and I was not a member. I'm not a member of the House Assembly, and I wasn't there. I have not had any other House member saying that they are not aware of the suspension of the 4 honorable lawmakers. That's the point I'm trying to say. And I want to say that as at yesterday, we had a stakeholders meeting, and all members of the House Assembly came to that meeting, and they must have left the House Assembly chambers before coming to the party secretariat for a meeting yesterday. So I don't subscribe that. I don't think that the Speaker unilaterally suspended for members of the House Assembly. It must have passed through the legislative process. However, I have also not have heard from any other member of the House Assembly saying that the Speaker did that at his own, using his own discretion. So, and those who have been suspended have also not contradicted to say that the Speaker suspended them unilaterally. So, these are the way I'm trying to say.
Okay. Anyway, if you can unmute. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. Until we hear from the majority leader, whom it is his responsibility to brief the party on the activities of the House Assembly.
All right. Sometime in 2021, it seems that the Imo State House of Assembly is always having issues with its speakers. Because if you recall, in 2021, you did have the former Speaker, Paul Emir, who was actually impeached as well. 19 of the 25 lawmakers had written that he was impeached on the basis of misconduct and the likes. And he was replaced by another speaker in 2021, which was Kennedy Ibe. Now, Kennedy Ibe in 2022 decided to also resign after not completing his time as Speaker of the House. And here we are again. It seems there's always impeachment notices, processes taking place in the Imo State House of Assembly. Can you share with us why this seems to be a recurrent problem or issue, especially in Imo State?
Yeah, where you have brilliant and articulate gentlemen, where you have articulate and brilliant people, 27 of them put together to legislate on the activities of government in the state, you will always be sure of what we call parliamentary politics. It is not something new. There must be this healthy political conversation and engagement. But I want to assure you that whatever you see or whatever that is happening in the State House Assembly is not new. It's part of the political legislative business. And I think that whatever the leadership of the House must do to ensure stability of the House and to show cohesion, to ensure that that they deliver on their mandates, they'll do it. And I can tell you that as long as they do not go outside the law, as long as they do not go outside the rules of the House in carrying out their activities, I don't think they have contravened any law. I don't think they have undermined any process. It's part of democracy, and it is healthy for our democracy.
Okay, wait. So let me get it. So is it democratic to have removed a Chiji Collins, who was a speaker of the Imo State House of Assembly, a Paul Amizim, who was equally a speaker, was impeached as well, a Kennedy Ibe, who even resigned. So it's a pattern, and I'm asking, what is the cause? Is it that the speakers are incapable, or better still, when there's a power tussle, the speakers would have to bow first before others would? Or is it that Imo State has not been able to find a competent speaker for its House of Assembly? Because it's going back and forth. Here is another one.
Okay, the truth of the matter is that once you are elected an honorable member, you are qualified to be a speaker. And when you have competent and qualified people elected as honorable members, but all of them are qualified to be, what you elected? You are elected to represent your people. That you not become a speaker is at the discretion. It is at the discretion of your honorable colleagues. So each and every one of them is qualified to be speaker at any point in time. So it is not a bad idea. It does not affect legislation. It does not affect the business of governance that they choose to have 10 speakers in one legislative tenor, or they choose to have one speaker in one legislative. It depends on the mindset. It depends on the discretion. It depends on the dynamics of that time. So that's the truth of it. It does not in any way speak ill of democracy or speak ill of the business of governance in Imo State. What I'm trying to say is that 27 of them elected as honorable members are qualified, eminently qualified to be speaker. So whoever that is the speaker depends, the duration of their tenure as a speaker depends on your relationship with your colleagues, depends on your interpersonal relationship with your colleagues. That's the truth of the matter. Nobody is elected for 4 years to be speaker.
Mr. Duke, it kind of like, I'm sorry, it kind of like feels a bit, I'm sorry to use the word awkward to me, because I mean, if you're put there as a speaker because you're an honorable member, we don't like the way you speak, we move you, we put another person. We don't like the way he speaks, we move, we put another person. Anyway,
and it's also concerning because when you remove a lawmaker, the constituency that elected them to represent them no longer have representatives for that constituency. And I remember sometime in 2018 when Falana talked about this, he did say that it was illegal to remove a member of the House of a lawmaker arbitrarily, or to just even remove a lawmaker, that it is a court of competent jurisdiction that has the power to do that, as well as the constituents who had voted them or who had put them there. But I'm not the authority here. Let's bring in someone who can probably answer the legality or otherwise of this. We have the head of chambers, Aladum, and co-legal consultant, Ifeanyi Aladum. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Can you please speak to the legality or otherwise of the removal of these 4 lawmakers from the Imo State House of Assembly by the Speaker because he feared that they were going to incite him? And can you please turn down the volume of your TV set as well? Thank you.
What happened yesterday in the Imo State House of Assembly is a slap to democracy and cannot stand. the Speaker of the Muslim House Assembly suspended the 4 lawmakers, his colleagues, without hearing from them, without abiding by the rules of the House, and without abiding by the requirement of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria on the issue of fair hearing. Before a House member will be suspended, there must be a committee set up by the House through the Ethics and Privileges Committee. In this particular case, nothing like that was done. The Speaker came into the chamber of the House and announced the suspension without even moving a motion for them to be tried. That is a slap on the democracy, and they cannot stand.
Right. I mean, thank you very much for highlighting what the situation should have been. And would you say that the fear of them potentially impeaching him or inciting other lawmakers against him can be considered as, acts that are tantamount to them facing a disciplinary committee?
How do the speaker knew that they wanted to impeach him without hearing from them? According to the House member of Oru West local government, is there a lawyer, Right Honorable Dominic Ezerioha, said he was never participated in anything like that, nothing like that. He said so. And the House of Assembly never set up any committee to try them or to hear from them. That cannot stand at this age of democracy in our country. It cannot be so.
All right, Mr. Ladum, I had asked the APC publicity secretary is also here with us. I'm talking about Mr. Kajetan Duke. Why is it that Imo State seems to have so many challenges or problems with its speakers and continues to change them like changing clothes? Do you see any political play here? Let me get your point first. Looking at the fact that the legality of what's going on, and can you say that politics is at play so much so that it continues to neglect what it should be in terms of the rules and the orders of the House?
No, you see, the House has the right to impeach whoever they want to impeach. But what we are saying that they have to do that in accordance with the rules of the law. You understand? So the House within themselves, they have the right to impeach, to remove, or to put anybody they like as a speaker. But they must do it in accordance with the rule of the law. This is not a banana republic. You can wake up one day and announce a suspension of any House member without recourse to the rules of the House and the Constitution. That is a legislative rascality, which cannot happen. So I urge the 4 members to challenge them in court.
All right. Let's now talk about what the way forward is. Where there is a wrong, there should be a remedy. Now, you have established that a wrong has been done here. What is a likely remedy, and how should this, be started? Should it be maybe from the people who have been suspended? What are the next steps going forward?
Like I said earlier, there was never a motion moved at the floor of the House for them to be heard. There was no a committee set up for them to be heard as well. So all these things happens like a magic. So I think the way forward is for the lawmakers to, if the speaker can set up a committee, but that will amount afterthoughts. They set up a committee for them to be tried. And funny enough, I think all of them belong to the same political party, the same APC. So if the speaker or leadership of the House can set up a committee for them to be tried, for them to be heard, and for them to say, for them to defend themselves or get represented, so that we know exactly what happened. And as I said earlier, the one of them is saying that, or say that he never participated in anything. Even some lawmakers themselves don't even know what happened. Some of the lawmakers, I spoke to 1 or 2 of them. They told me that they don't know what happened. They are not aware of any breach from those lawmakers. They don't know what happened. So this happened, 1 or 2 persons will come together, feel that the House of Assembly belongs to them or belongs to their forefathers, and they can do whatever they want with the House of Assembly. That is very painful, very unfortunate.
Now,
I want
us to go back in time very quickly and imagine that things had happened in the way that you had said it should have happened, where if there was an allegation or a potential suspicion of an intention to impeach the speaker, that they should have been brought before a disciplinary committee for them to be heard, to give them the right to fair hearing. Now, if that had happened, shouldn't they have the right to decide if they are not satisfied with how the leadership of the assembly is going, to then decide that we want to impeach him. It's then left for the speaker to prove his case on why he should not be impeached. Should that be considered a crime, an offense that is punishable by facing a disciplinary committee?
It is not at all. It is not at all. As I said before, they have the right, the members of the House of Assembly has the right to remove the speaker or put whoever they want to put as a speaker, but they must do it in accordance with the rules. Just like these ones were suspended, they have to suspend them in accordance with the rules of the House and as a shrine in the Nigerian Constitution on issue of fair hearing. So whatever they want to do in the House of Assembly, whether they want to remove the speaker, is a normal thing for them to remove. If the speaker is not doing well, or if they feel that the speaker has been offended or offended in one way or the other, they have the right to come together and say, no, we don't want this speaker again. It's within their right, but they must do it in accordance with the rule of the law and the rules of the House.
Thank you for joining us. I think the final question will be to the APC Publicity Secretary for Imo State. What are we expecting? What are the next steps? What are we expecting? Some form of press address from the speaker or even from the political party? Mr. Duke, are you here with us?
Okay, yes, I'm with you.
All right, please go ahead.
Now, like I said earlier, we are not. I am not holding this for the House Assembly, but I am saying on the part of the party, the 4 members who suspended are members of the APC, quite correct. And it is not in our tradition to interfere or to also limit the activities of the House Assembly. They are an independent institution of governance. You know, so our responsibility is to provide guidelines to ensure that the activities are in tandem with the end and objective, with the manifesto of the party. Now, like I told you earlier, but between the end of the day, we'll be able to hear from the majority leader of the House Assembly, who will be briefing the party on the activities of the House as regards to the suspension of the 4 other members of the House Assembly. But I want to put this on the note line. It is the prerogative of the House. The House has its own a code of conduct. And if any member is found wanting, it is also the responsibility of the House to so discipline the person. But like I said before, when we have not heard from the 4 members who the suspended, who are members of our party, we have also not heard from the leadership of the House. All the things we are saying is things we have learned from the news flying here and there. But I am telling you that authoritatively and officially, that before the end of the day, we'll be able to hear what from the leadership of the House. And when we now hear from the leadership of the House, we'll be also able to hear from the suspended members of the House, who are also members of our party, and be able to now know how to address the issue. But I want to tell you that the House has the mandate, they are entitled to provide the enabling rules of engagement to ensure cohesion, to ensure stability, and also to ensure that they are in synergy in driving the business of legislative activities in the state.
All right. Thank you very much for that. We look forward to hearing from the parties, like you have said. Gentlemen, thank you for your time with us. Do have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We'll go on a break, and when we come back, more conversations this morning on Breakfast Central. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo was hosted by the Southeast governors yesterday, a move that is set to help secure the release of the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu. The clamor for the release of Nnamdi Kanu continues to get louder as 50 members of the House of Representatives from different parts of Nigeria and political parties known as Concerned Federal Lawmakers for Peace and Security in the Southeast recently wrote to President Bola Tinubu to invoke Section 174 of the Constitution of Nigeria 1999 as amended and Section 107 subsection 1 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015 for the release of the detained IPOB leader.
Well, additionally, the 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, recently asked the Nigerian government to release the IPOB leader. Obi said there was no reason for the continuous detention of the IPOB leader, given that a Nigerian court earlier acquitted him, although that acquittal was overturned by the Supreme Court. Well, this is a big conversation. There have been growing concerns and calls for the release of Nnamdi Kanu. And also not forgetting to Kanu's early request to negotiate with the federal government. That's not all. Recently, there were also growing concerns from southeastern governors, by which we saw just 1 or 2 or 3 southeastern governors speak up and talked about Nnamdi Kanu's release and looking at the federal government to engage in negotiations and ensure that he's released or gets his final request to be released. But unfortunately, that as well hasn't taken place. And this time, the southeastern governors have decided to meet together, as you've heard, and they decided to also invite the former president, President Olusegun Obasanjo, by hosting him to the governors' forum yesterday, where they indeed spoke tough and talked about writing to the current president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to initiate what they are asking for, request for Nnamdi Kanu's release.
Absolutely. Now, this is the first time that we're seeing the Southeast governors speaking together in one voice and saying that they will write to the president, whilst a number of them have spoken individually on their own, and their pleas have really fallen on deaf ears. This is the first time that they are coming together collectively as a unit to speak about this. Now, there's no deadline or time frame within which they haven't specified when this writing will be held or when, their deadlines are set, but they have said that they are speaking strongly against it. And this Southeast Governors Forum was hosted by Peter Mbah of Enugu State, had in attendance former President Olusegun Obasanjo, who also shared his thoughts on this. But also to mention that Nnamdi Kanu has been, we all remember that he's been held for terrorism charges. Remember the first time that he was arrested in 2015 in President Muhammadu Buhari's tenure. And after that, the court did rule that, his extradition was in flagrant violation of his human rights and struck out the terrorism charges against him. But what did we see after that? He had been rearrested, and unfortunately, he's been detained even after subsequent court orders, several court orders. He's been kept in detention, and this detention really serves nobody. Peter Obi did say that in the video, in the speech where he was speaking about it. He said that this detention doesn't serve anybody, really. And yes, just to mention that a number of people would say that releasing Mazi Nnamdi Kanu will bring peace and stability to the Southeast. Others will say that he has spoken very strongly against those who are perpetrating evil, who are killing. He has dissociated himself and the IPOB movement from those who are carrying out attacks in the Southeast, saying that he does not in any way approve or endorse all of that. His lawyer had said that they are open to negotiating with the federal government. And the Attorney General has been charged to invoke Section 174 of the Constitution. Subsection C provides that the Attorney General can discontinue any criminal proceedings, and he can discontinue these for the public interest, and there are several conditions, which in this case, he can't totally invoke the powers in Section 174. So we just have to wait and see how this turns out. It's been a case that has been going on for the longest time, and I wonder if this time the alliance or the convergence of these governors putting their voices together as one will impact the decision of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and if it will impact them to do something differently this time. But we'll be following up with that case and see exactly what this will lead to, and if his fundamental rights will be guaranteed this time. But that's all that we have for the first half. Let's share with you a recap of the stories we've discussed, and then we'll share with you what's coming up next on Breakfast Central. Recap of the conversations this morning. Imo Assembly suspends 4 lawmakers over impeachment plot. And this was done by the Speaker of the House of Assembly. Federal government UNICEF launched $4 billion sector-wide approach in healthcare. Umar Kirawa brought us that report. And that's the conversation that we've had this morning. We also talked about Nnamdi Kanu and the call for his release. The Southeast governors are demanding that he be released, and they would also write to the president. Let's share with you what's coming up next on Breakfast Central.
Coming up next, reps probe misuse of 2 trillion naira funds by MDAs, and on newspaper front pages. We'll take a look at what we have, and then you can react. Plus, NNPC declares state of emergency on oil production. Stay here.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Now it's time for us to review the papers, and this is where you come in. We open the phone lines for you to comment on any of the stories that are catching your eye, but please remember to turn down the volume of your TV set so we can have a proper conversation. Now, joining us to review the big stories this morning is Public Affairs Analyst Sheson Okunade. Good morning. Good to have you. You're looking very bright and colorful. I love it so much.
Yeah, what will you do when you look at the economy looking the other way around? Then you make the brightness for yourself. That's the only way you can do it.
I mean, especially on a rainy, gloomy Wednesday morning. You are
the weather is on its own, it's dull, so you come out with it.
Yeah, talking to a public affairs analyst who has answers to all your...
We thank you so much. We thank you, sir.
But I saw him, and the moment I saw your outfit, you look good, by the way. It took me back to this same period, this same time, 8 a.m. at the assembly ground, where we're clapping and all that, and everybody was singing. All things bright and beautiful.
Wow! Joe is cracking dry jokes.
I reserve my comment.
A dry joke on a rainy day.
I reserve my comment.
Okay, now let's head into the papers proper this time and see what the big stories are saying. On the front page of our first paper this morning, which is the Daily Independent newspaper, Southeast governors resolve to meet Tinubu to secure Nnamdi Kanu's release. Withheld salaries, Sanu takes decision tomorrow on resuming strike. Revamping manufacturing sector, federal government seeks policy framework from MAN for instant implementation, demands prioritization of local content made in Nigeria goods, approves withholding tax exemption for small businesses. Dangote says nobody can create jobs with interest rate at 30%. Cholera outbreak, death toll rises to 63 cases. Now 2,102 as disease spreads to 33 states. Minister says Nigerians spent 120 trillion naira to power generators in 2023. I can't believe that my money is inside. Retired Nigeria Airways staff seek employment in life pension scheme. And we also have governors must see legislature as partners, not appendages, says Lagos Assembly. Leaking official secrets harms policy implementation, federal government tells workers. NNPC Limited declares state of emergency on crude oil production. That's an interesting one there. And reps revisit Oronsoye report to streamline government agencies. And we are still on this Oronsoye report. Okay, let's move over to our next paper.
All right, let's go to our next paper. Let's take a look at the Punch. On the front page there of the Punch, it says 33 states battle 2,102 cases as NYSC enforces strict camp rules. And you're wondering what they're battling? It's cholera. That's what they're battling. They're battling with cholera, 33 states. Lagos, Bayelsa, 8 others have 90% of cases as infection spread to 122 local governments. Well, let's look at another one. Tinubu seeks National Assembly's nod as tax regime begins January. What is he asking for? You need to read to understand clearly so you won't be surprised as well. Nigerians bought 16 trillion naira generators in fuel in 2023, according to federal government. CBN threatens to sanction banks rejecting old dollar notes. Borno bombings, military plans crack down as reps begin probe. That's another thing, another story to look out for. Let's look at another one very quickly. Federal government directs MDAs to patronize made in Nigeria goods. Dangote decries high interest rate, seeks government's intervention. I did talk about that at the start of the show as well. But we did mention how Dangote said 30% interest rate will not help the economy, nor will it create jobs. It is way, way too high. Recall from where we came from. We had 12 point something interest rate, went to 15, and so on and so forth. Let's take a look at the third newspaper front page.
All right, our third paper for today is the first newspaper. Big story, Southeast governors rally for Nnamdi Kanu's release. Marathon meeting with Obasanjo fuels renewed efforts. Dangote criticizes CBN's interest rate hike from 24% to 26%. Federal government exempts farmers, small businesses, manufacturers from withholding tax. Edo government demands return of 22 official vehicles from ex-deputy governor Shaibu. The plot thickens. NNPC Limited declares state of emergency on crude oil production. Cholera death toll rises to 63 across 33 states. High stakes in energy. Power sector needs 6 trillion naira annually for uninterrupted supply, according to minister. Bandits kill lecturer, abduct children in Katsina. This is not good. Not good at all. But let's start with the conversation about Southeast governors rallying for Nnamdi Kanu's release. Mr. Okwande, this is the first time that we're seeing the Southeast governors coming together to speak as one voice. Typically, each of them speaks individually. Do you think that them coming together to say that they would write to the president would have any impact this time?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe, you know, the whole thing is in the hands of the president. We've had several individuals, leaders, the Ohanezes and the likes, talk to the last administration. They've even paid visits to the president then to see ways that they can speak for the release of Nnamdi Kanu. And it seems to me it's still where they are not having an head through. Maybe taking this new approach of the governors, talking to maybe who I will call their head, president or presides over the meeting with the governors. We might see an headway through, because I feel that despite the pronouncement by the court for the release of the man, we seems to be having a counter issue. When you release today, another issue will emanate for them to actually pick them up. But well, now that they are speaking with one voice, let's see what the result will come out to be.
And I worry about what still the continuous detention of Nnamdi Kanu is saying, what narrative it's painting about not just the past administration, but this administration, and our democracy and our willingness to obey court orders.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult because the current president is one we know that will always tell you that the respect for the rule of law is very key. But we've not seen instances where we follow this through, at least for one to say this is the court declaration and this is what we are following to make sure that the independence of judiciary is actually followed through. We'll wait and see. You see, people like us have said it times with that number that most of the time you might need to go, the other direction. Stop doing the same thing the same way and expect different results. Go the other route, which we can see the Southeast governor coming together, maybe in an informal sector, to say informal way, to talk to the president and say, sir, I think these are the things on the table, and can will be of help, so that at least we can observe this unrest that is going on in our region because of just one entity. But we wait to see the outcome of what this thing will look like.
Let's look at state of emergency on the oil and gas sector. NNPC declaring state of emergency. Abba Kyari speaking yesterday and saying that there are a lot of negative impacts that indeed affecting Nigeria from producing what it ought to produce. And then they're declaring a state of emergency. This was the same NNPC that guaranteed Nigerians that, don't worry, there's enough processes being put in place to ensure that Nigeria's crude oil serves the public. But now we're having this state of emergency calls. A lot going on. Your thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, if you ask me, I think I will sound a bit hard this morning. We should declare state of emergency on the MD, and I expect that before noon this morning he should be fired. Why am I saying this? This man was part of the last administration. We saw, when you ask yourself, the crude oil thefts, is it people like you and I? These are massive investments. I read in one of his speech some of the things he said when he said we had over 500 and something pipeline plugged to NNPC. This thing does not look like the pipe you and I. Even if somebody is tapping the water that goes into your room, I'm sure you will observe, you would know. We are now talking of you tapping into the, to the pipeline that is carrying the crude oil. We've had instances where you say people dug deep, oil reserves. These are massive investments. You ask, where is the surveillance? What is the function of the head of that organization? They are no longer the government entity we used to know. They are corporate people that are supposed to. We were thinking that, giving them that autonomy, we bring them up to be like Saudi Aramco of Saudi Arabia, where we start rolling in, a lot of income from them. But what have we seen? So for me, coming to say they should declare state of emergency on things we've been talking about, we've not been able to improve on our crude oil production. And that's what is impacting on even the investment they had on Dangote refinery. Dangote now had to be importing. I was thinking that we'll be so much intentional as the group managing director to say that even the little that we are getting, rather than we setting out, we want to prioritize the welfare of the citizen by giving to our own local refinery, rather than we importing, provide for us so that we can reduce the cost at which we are buying fuel to make businesses grow. You can imagine the response of Dangote this morning on the issue of interest rate. I keep asking, there is going to be a lot of downside. If Dangote, multinationals are leaving, you can imagine small and medium enterprises, what they are actually facing. While we are growing up, what we learned about business is that you make a margin of about 15-20% or whatever you're doing. So, and that is inclusive of you borrowing funds to even take care of the margin. Now you are going to face over 30%. We're talking about 34-35% interest rate. So what margin are you going to put on that business for you to make ends meet and take care of your operating expense? then the person you are making that deliverable to, you'll be talking about, I'm doing a work for you of 1 million, and I'm charging an interest of about 500,000. It will impact on you, not you being able to give me that thing. So if I must do, I will reduce my margin in such a way for me to get that thing if I must borrow. So I don't know what the monetary policy we are putting. We keep increasing it from 24 to 26 by the time we get to 40, but it's really not smiling. I must say, when you talk about interest rate, energy cost, when you talk about, there's going to be serious downsizing with this that we are faced with, because most private organization cannot maintain what is really obtainable now. When you talk about people that are placed on band A, you can tell yourself, some people are even opting out of it to say possibly they will go for the alternative power supply. But it's quite not interesting now. This is rainy season. So if you have invested so much on solar, this is not the best time to actually enjoy that. So there are a lot of intricacies that we need to put in if we must allow those things. But for me, NNPCL-MD coming to say state of emergency on this, I think it should be pulled out and we should do something differently so that we can see if other people will be engaged in that sector and will still come out with the same thing or a different approach.
All right, let's talk about insecurity, which is a big conversation. It's a conversation that we have almost every other day. And I don't want us to get to the point where it's now seen as normal because we have in a way become desensitized to the number of kidnappings and murders that we're hearing about. The front page of the first newspaper says, bandits kill lecturer and abduct children in Katsina. Now, I looked further into the details of the story. It was said that Dr. Thierry David, who was killed in fresh bandits attack in the early hours yesterday. He was a lecturer in the Federal University Dusima Fudma in Katsina State. He was the head of Department of Agricultural Economics, Extension and Rural Development at the university. Now, reports had it that the bandits stormed his community and they were shooting sporadically. Not only was he killed, 2 of his children were kidnapped. That's one. Now, as at yesterday, the news on the hashtag Save the Kimbas has been trending on social media because a doctor who was on a work trip, unfortunately, had his whole family kidnapped. Now, the kidnappers were asking for a ransom of 300 million naira. The person who was sharing this on X is with the X handle, Dr. Folu, and the updates that we heard yesterday was to show that they are serious. They killed the man's son, Victor, and dropped the dead body for the man to go and pick. This Victor would have been 15 years old in October. They've killed his son. We don't even know what the next steps are, because this man, according to the updates, they have sold house, they put up house for sale, they've sold car, they've raised money from people's donations. They had gotten up to 9 million, took it to the kidnappers. Kidnappers rejected it, and they went ahead and killed this boy.
Olive, is quite disheartening, and I must say, and we will not be tired discussing this issue, because an unsecured environment can never grow. So imagine, it's been pretty difficult for people like us. My business entails traveling, to have 1 or 2 things engagement. I can't remember any area I'm going that I cannot be guaranteed that security. I dare not make the move.
Yep.
Because everyone knows when a stranger enters the house, and you cannot predict the work that those guys are doing. So you enter into an environment, so they know, oh, this particular person is in this hotel and is a stranger. Possibly is here on business trip, is here. And there are ways they give themselves, these informants, they give themselves information to say this person is, you'll be shocked that possibly the organization you are going to serve, somebody is giving them an heads up to say this person is coming in at this particular time. If you picked him up, you definitely get something out to make yourself in. I've asked the question, how many kidnappers, how many bandits have we actually paraded or we have actually killed? Rather, when these guys said they dropped their ammunition, we reintegrate them back into the system. And that's why some people say, Sheson, that's why you won't study the law. For me, I feel it's capital punishment. We need to reduce the number. I'm not a pastor, but they said he who killed by the sword will go by the sword. You've actually pointed gun at someone, and at the dying minute, forgiveness is of the Lord, not of the government, neither of us. You have killed by this gun, and you must go down by the time you start reducing the number of people that are actually, somebody will wake up, kill about 40, 50 people, and the next thing you say, I'm submitting my ammunition, a lot of them will come back to be informal because they've enjoyed a lot of largesse. So I feel that because I've not seen, each time we hear them, expanding their scope on daily basis, and they are all everywhere. Imagine the last time I was shocked when we talked about people kidnapping the MD of this organization at Ikoyi.
Oh yes.
Fuani.
Yeah.
And you can imagine the security details around these big men. So it sends a lot of signal to say, are we really safe in the country?
And yet, there's been no release on who the kidnappers were.
But the people are out, and I can say that they are not out for free. Something we must have exchanged. So we are enriching these bandits, these kidnappers, at the detriment. So imagine people raising 9 million. You are not investing it in business that will generate more income for you, but rather you get those money for you to secure your family, of whom they have actually killed one. So what will result? You've seen people now saying, when they kidnap, they say, if you want to kill, kill. Because where will you are now, you become a beggar, and they will turn you back to become a puppet. Imagine when you sell your house, you sell your car, you raise money, and on the last note, they release those family to you. Where will you now be? Starting back from the drawback, I think government should be intentional to see how we can nip this level of insecurity at the board. The service chief are working, but we are not feeling the impact. So you can imagine somebody traveling from Lagos to the east. You must still fly. Look at the cost of flight as we speak. People have their car that they can move on the road to do, but because of the level of insecurity, they decide to just stay back.
A number of people will not go and even share with, celebrate with their loved ones who are doing things outside Lagos because of that. But let's quickly take this call. We have Ilawari calling from Edo State. Good morning. Please go ahead with your comments.
Well, good morning. It's enough of this. We have caught all these people trafficking minor arms. It's enough. Nobody has been persecuted. We must begin to look at what we are talking. When we are saying we arrested this, we got this, those things. How many people have been persecuted? Let's get these people persecuted. Let's shame them. Let us now know whether we are able to stop this proliferation of arms all around Nigeria. It's not sufficient to say we have got this, we have got this. Has anybody been persecuted all the way? Please.
All right.
Let Nigeria be safe for us all.
Thank you very much. And this is what makes a number of people leave the country. They will tell you they're not leaving the country because they want to make so much money, because they feel like they are
it's the level of security.
They just want to be able to afford basic life. They want to ensure that they have access to power. They want to be sure that when they go out, they will come back home. And
in fact, you see those other aspects of saying basic stuff, and every person that even have access to that, is their priority is safety. You are not driving and you are looking left, right, center, forward. Somebody is trailing you. Are you sure? At times, people will just be moving on their own. Maybe they are going the same direction you are going, and you've seen the vehicle behind you. You start looking suspicious to say, am I safe? Am I safe? Driver, oh yeah, pull over. Let's see whether they will stop. This and that. And you just see the car, move on without this. You can imagine when you are driving and you are supposed to be thinking about business growth, and all you are thinking about is security. That am I safe? When your brain should be thinking, okay, this business that I'm going for, this that is about to happen, how do we just oppose this to make this? But what you're thinking about is, can I get there safely? So imagine the doctor going on official assignment, and the next thing you are hearing is that your family are out to be.
Add government doctor, because it's not even a government, he works for the government. So the government that he works for is the government that has failed.
And the disheartening thing is that if it's him that was actually kidnapped and killed, the family will not get any benefit. So you discover that someone who is high up there and has served this country religiously, after they've been killed, their family they become miserable. because there are no packages to take care of them, to say that these are what your people. Look at even those that served that are not dead. How are they treating their pension at the state, at the federal level? I think there must be a turnaround in our policies, in making sure that that is stated in 1999 Constitution, section 14, subsection 2, about the welfare and security of the people should be priority, so that when we are secured, I can tell you, if you can sleep with your two eyes closed, you feel relaxed and get refreshed to think about the next business idea and how to go about it. But when you sleep and all you're thinking of is somebody will not burgle into my house, I will not be kidnapped, and this, how will you now have that sanity to think about business ideas that can transform things for the nation?
Okay, let's take a call from Oshogbo. Good morning. Thank you very much for calling. Please go ahead.
Good morning.
All right, good morning, Olaide. Please go ahead with your comment.
I want to talk about the Southeast governance. Mr. Tinubu should please listen to these people. If we can forgive Boko Haram people that have been killing people all throughout this country, why can't we forgive the man that is just fighting for the rights of his people, going about harmlessly? Mr. Tinubu should listen to Southeast governor and forgive Nnamdi Kanu, so that there can be peace in Southeast and in Nigeria generally. Because there cannot be development in this country if we are still tackling, we are still dealing with this insecurity in the Southeast, in the Southwest, in the Northeast, in the Northwest. Mr. Tinubu should listen to these people. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you, Olaide.
Boko Haram
yeah, we said that in
integrating them into the society.
Why can't they do that for
Nnamdi Kanu? Let's take a look at, we're almost out of time, but let's take a look at another story there. This one says, Minister says Nigerians spent 20 trillion naira to power generators in 2023.
I was part of them.
We were all part of it. 20
so he may
trillion
not, he may
naira.
have solar in his house.
Okay.
No, well, it's been a while I make use of generator. Just that this season now that it's raining, we may not have the best of just go and service it and prepare for it. So, no, you see, you have to just think through.
20 trillion naira.
So look at that is supposed to be, and if you look at the downward of that report, the Minister of Power is asking that we need 6 trillion to actually get uninterrupted power supply. My question is, will it be at a reduced rate? Because practically, I looked at a skit with one of these comedians yesterday when she said she has been moved to band A. And then now what she does is that during the day, you go and switch off the meter, use the normal light to see through in your room. That if you must pay her visit, you need to come in around 5 p.m. That's when she on her light to 9:30 or 10. After then, she switch off, go to bed. But during the day, she will not. So if you come and you say you want to charge your phone, you want to have
that sounds like what Hawa would say.
But you know, when you look at the cost of those things, they just migrated my office to band A, and I'm like, every week I know what, when we are in the office, we know what we'll pay. And we've been asking, if it must be there, can't we have a reduction in the cost of this thing? There are a lot of energy thefts that they need to work on. If you are saying that the cost of some of those things are that huge, look at the impact on businesses. That's the area we must, because every of those manufacturers, they transfer that cost to the consumers. So when the consumer cannot afford it, what becomes of them is that they will make mass production of those things, and when there are no patronages, you are entering into wastages. These are things we must balance up to make sure that we have the best of all the things that we need to do.
All right, Kingsley joins us this morning from Abakaliki. Kingsley, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, Kingsley, can you speak up? Go ahead, please.
Please, the last time, there was one that I called in not too long ago. I mentioned about this Nnamdi Kanu. It's for me, this is a very simple thing. This is a union of different ethnicities. What is there to show that there is fairness in this land? Nigeria today has been battered in the north because of the activities of Boko Haram. People that wear bombs to terrorize the nation from the north. And today, we are trying to convert them, begging them, trying to also rehabilitate some of them to be integrated back into the Nigerian system. Today, Sunday who has been brought back, even after all the fight against the nation. Today, he's moving around free. Can we really be serious and say there's any justification against for keeping Nnamdi Kanu in detention? I saw it that day and I said it that it was a low-hanging fruit. I'm not an Nnamdi Kanu fan, but I said I felt it should be a low-hanging fruit for Tinubu to restore sanity, security in the southeast. What justification do we have keeping this man who you did not see with arms, whose only crime is that he's fighting for the freedom of his people, and then we are keeping him for so long, and that insecurity is there? Do we think if it doesn't make sense to release this guy if security can be fully restored in the southeast so that you can face other parts of the nation? It doesn't make sense. I don't know who is advising the president, but if he continues this way, I believe that Buhari may be a saint by the time his time is over as president. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us to speak on that. As we wrap up this, I want us to talk about the Onsari report, the Daily Independent report that reps revisit Onsari report to streamline government agencies. I will just dance in circles. Last time we heard of Onsari report, they gave them 3 months to implement the Onsari report, and it just feels like everybody has gone to bed.
The issue we have is that we are good at talking. We don't follow through when it comes to implementation. We saw the minister saying they are going to consolidate some minister. If you asked me, because I didn't follow through that stuff, I was thinking that they've started implementing that we've had reduction in the agency. You see, when it comes to these are leaders reacting to issues that has to do to the people that will benefit the populace, they are slow at responding to it. We expected that this should have been implemented quite a long time ago, but here we are. Even aside that, I keep asking, where are we on this Ministry of Humanitarian Agency? You see, every day by day, we keep hearing of a humongous amount of money that is actually being mismanaged, being actually diverted, and there are no questioning. I can tell you for free, this country is blessed with every natural resources that you can talk about. The human intellectual is out there that you can actually speak of because we know what our people are doing out there. What we need is to have a system that works, and we have a sincere and the political will of our leader to do the right thing and nip corruption at the board. And with that, Nigeria will be the best place to stay as a nation.
Well said, well said. Thank you so much, Mr. Sheson Okwade, for joining us here on the newspaper front pages. We've taken a look at some of the biggest stories on the front page. If you would like to do the same, please go ahead and ensure that you grab yourself a copy, or better still, you could also, if you missed out on this conversation, go back on YouTube, possibly click on rewind and get to watch what we've said about it. We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, more stories here on Breakfast Central. Stay with us. And thanks for staying with us here. The House of Representatives has mandated its committees on nutrition and food security and agricultural production and services, agricultural colleges and institutions and finance to conduct a comprehensive investigation into the alleged misuse of government interventions and agricultural funding by departments, agencies, schemes and programs of the federal government.
This comes after reports and allegations of abuse, mismanagement and misapplication of government intervention funds earmarked for agricultural development and food security initiatives in Nigeria. The committee is expected to report back to the House within 4 legislative weeks for further legislative actions. Joining us now is Public Affairs Analyst J.M. Isaka. Good morning and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. It's nice to be here. All
right. Before we go into the interventions that we should explore, they've been given 4 weeks to report, 4 legislative weeks to report back to the House. Is this something that, are you excited about this? Do you think that this will yield the necessary intervention that we're looking forward to?
Well, no. And if you go back in history, just let us, tilt back and get into history. I think the only coup that gave us anything to rejoice about was the Farouk Lawa led probe on subsidy payments. And that was the only thing that gave us a conviction that went as far as the courts, and the courts, giving judicial pronouncements. Every probe since 2007 has been a vindictive one, I don't know for whatsoever reason. I came up with an opinion of mine on these various probes, and I think I'll find two people that are the worst culprits in these kind of antics or modus operandi is the EFCC and the House of Representatives. The way they come up with this probe, it's just as if they just go out there to scandalize these people and give them no room or whatsoever. In fact, they take away the presumption of innocence from these guys. And, it's a sad one that just last week, a controller of customs died while being grilled, going through one of such probes. And you ask yourself, is this the essence of this probe? Is it to get justice, or is it just to malign and castigate and probably crucify these people in public courts? And that's what these guys have been doing. I have not seen anything from the power probe to the FCC, Federal Character Commission probe, to the subsidy probe, to power, everything. Tell me what has come out of it. Has there been any refund of such, or as the FAC, has anybody claimed to have received any refund to the Federation account? None. It's just a media circles, I don't know, to entertain Nigerians, to make and probably to go after perceived political opponents, or to scandalize or probably convict these people in public opinion, courts of public opinion. So I'm not excited about it. Nothing will happen. Just like you look at, it's just a normal thing we've been used to in Nigeria. You just see the breaking news and there's no follow-up news.
So how can we then ensure that when situations and conversations like this come up, first of all, that they don't even come up in the first place because the right thing is being done. But now that there has been a wrong done, how can we then ensure this remedy? Before you answer this question, let's look at some of the few interventions that we should note. Now, there's a program for maize, rye, and wheat farming. The amount disbursed was 1.12 trillion naira, and the recipients, 4.67 million farmers through 563 anchors. There's also the Nigeria Incentive-Based Risk Sharing System for Agricultural Lending, NIR-SAL, and the amount disbursed was 215.067 billion naira. There was also the Bank of Industry Agricultural Value Chain Financing Program. Amount disbursed 3 billion naira to 22,120 smallholder farmers. Additional funding was given to the tune of 59.4 billion naira for 49 agro and food processing businesses. And there was also the Federal Government of Nigeria loan facility to Bank of Agriculture for livestock farmers. Amount disbursed was 5 billion naira. There was also the National Agricultural Development Fund, Ginger Blight Epidemics Central Task Force Recovery Fund. Amount disbursed was 1.6 billion naira for the control of blight disease in ginger. So how did we get to this point? Like, what can we do to ensure that these are not the kind of conversations that we're having? And even now that we're having these sort of conversations, how do we ensure that we do not see a repeat of these headlines hitting the news or making the news?
Sadly, without trying to sound like a prophet of doom, we will probably still, in 4, 5 years, 8 years from now, after this administration, we'll be visiting things like this, we'll be greeted with headlines like this, and God save us, preserve us till then and beyond. And I'll tell you why. It's like putting the cat before the horse. The federal government under Muhammadu Buhari went on that bazaar sharing, venture. And the key components of food security is missing. You give me loan to get to the farm. Probably you could call those farmers now without giving them an excuse for why they've not repaid their loans. They will tell you that probably they used it in paying ransom after being kidnapped, or probably their workers were kidnapped on the farm. When there's national insecurity, how do you want people to go to farm? How do you want them to keep the value and the value chain and the process chain going? I think it's not possible. I don't know what it's a sad one and another thing for government, and this is a lesson to the present administration because they're actually falling into such ditch. You can't end poverty by doling out cash. You can't. Your intervention in agriculture is not just about coming up, distributing monies to Nigerians. It's about coming up with the right policies that they can probably latch on. Commercial banks should do this. Because commercial banks will monitor these things and follow it up and at an agreed interest rate between the federal government and the banks, and between the banks and the farmers. Simple.
But we've seen...
go through, and I think that was how it was disbursed, because I think it was disbursed through commercial banks. But you still find out that the federal government, the monitoring of these policies and programs was vouched and was not thought out. I think it was an afterthought. And I'm happy that this is happening. A part of me is happy because when some of us kept saying the government of former President Muhammadu Buhari was just life-driven, everybody felt we didn't know what we were saying. They made it look as if almost all the state that had no business were knocking planks together and coming out with fake rice pyramids just to glorify the administration. We're all saying the fraud. We'll keep and to tackle these. I don't think this is for the House of Reps to do. I think it's so oftentimes we just come up with needless bureaucracy. These are criminal cases that the police want to investigate, take it to court and get a conviction. Why go through the house probe, you make noise, you scandalize people, so people will and they pile up so much pressure on these people when they are appearing before them. And they probably, I don't know, we could have a repeat of what happened to the customs guy. We should stop this jamboree, these razzmatazz, and get settled to doing the good, serious business of governance.
Well, dear Mr. I think we've explored this conversation rather, and we've looked at these angles. We've seen how it's touched on food security, food insecurity rather, which happens to be a major problem Nigerians are facing. We've seen an increase in the costs of purchase, where a tuber of yam, now we know what it goes for, the bag of rice, and so on and so forth. And then it seems like corruption has indeed plunged the Nigerian agricultural system, bringing it to a halt. Do you think that the corrupt practices have not been attended to, rather than putting these intervention funds and not dealing with the corruption that comes with it seems to be the major problem?
Well, I don't think the problem with the agricultural sector is corruption. The problem is insecurity. The corruption might be within the government, the government cycle, how they disburse funds and what have you, the fictitious or fraudulent policies they come up with. It's between you and I, and these are an audacious claim for me. 40 to 60% of the beans in Nigeria comes from Burkina Faso. Tomato, the people will tell you, the people on the streets will tell you, they want to be truthful with themselves. You tell that the spike in the cost of tomatoes is because we couldn't get tomatoes in from Chad and from Benin Republic. And that's the truth. So it's the bottom line is the rising cost of food and consumables is because people can go to farms. You cannot move the whole of Kotangora in Niger State. You're probably going on a suicide mission to get any police from Kotangora out of Kotangora to anywhere in Niger State. Same thing, you can't go to Futra, Faskari, even to Zamfara. Zamfara. The slogan of Zamfara is "Famine is our pride." They can't go to farm. The whole of Bauchi, Kano, Zamfara, Benue can give us the rice we need in this country, and even look at the West African markets, but we can't. Adamawa too is good in rice production. You look at all these things and you ask yourself, how do you want to achieve this? Even down south, people are being kidnapped. From Ijebu, they going through the Ibadan road, Ijebu to Ibadan. You have a lot of farms scattered along the axis, but people are being kidnapped daily. But the government in his wisdom felt dashing or probably, if I can borrow that word, gifting or probably, going on a land bazaar location for House of Assembly members will solve the insecurity or the food insecurity in the state. And you see the gathering of southern governors, and they just come with wearing adire for Ashebite, taking photos photographs, and that is all. We are not serious as a nation. I'm not trying to sound like a prophet of doom. We probably will be paying more for food and consumables next year, because what did they do this in terms of agriculture, in terms of farming? Literally nothing.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Saka. I mean,
peasant farming in their compound. That's why you probably could have maize or few pepper to eat next year. Without that, if you are expecting to go to the market, well, if you can stop to next, I advise you to do that.
Well, the food prices, no doubt, many have said, experts have also warned that we may not see it come down anytime soon. But thank you so much for your time there, Mr. Cap. We truly appreciate the time you've spent with us.
It's nice having. I always love being with you guys.
Thank you for your time with us.
All right. Anyway, it's been a plethora, or I'd say so many conversations that we've had this morning here on Breakfast Central. One of the many conversations that we've touched on, highlighting the major one, has to be the fact that the NNPC is declaring a state of emergency to boost oil production. That's one conversation that everybody is also talking about. The aim is to increase Nigeria's crude oil output and reserves. In-house analyst who joined us during the front pages has said that the current NNPC's Group Chief Executive Officer, Emir, should be sacked. That's his own thought, his opinion, because he was there from the previous administration up until now, and he couldn't have done more than what we have now. Well, don't forget that this is a developing story. Most importantly, Emir Kyari made this statement at an event, and it's gotten a lot of persons talking. It also comes in line with what the richest man in Africa had said, that 30% interest rate, we're not going to see businesses flourish. We're not going to see a developed economy. Rather, we're going to see people downsize and so on. And these are the problem. These are the challenges that we face day in, day out.
All right. As we wrap up the show, I want us once again to just bring to light the conversation that's been going on X, and to tell Governor Ubasani about what is happening, in case he's not yet aware, that one of his doctors has been kidnapped, or one of his doctor's sons has been killed, and his family has been kidnapped. His whole family kidnapped whilst he was on a work trip. And this doctor's family, unfortunately, are still with the kidnappers. They had asked for 300 million naira. Now, this family had sold their car, they put up their house for sale, raised money from Nigerians because they had been informed, according to the handle giving us the information on X, they had been informed that they need to raise the money and give to the kidnappers. Now, they raised a sum of 9 million naira, gave them to the kidnappers, and this was refused. Unfortunately, the son, Victor Gimba, was killed, and his father was asked to come and pick up his body. So on behalf of Nigerians, on behalf of the citizens in Kaduna State, on behalf of the Gimbas, we are appealing to the government of Kaduna State to step in. We are calling on well-meaning Nigerians. If you know that you want to also help, you can reach out to Dr. Folu on X. As she's been given details, she's also set up a GoFundMe. She set up account details to be able to raise money for this. She says, "Hi everyone, I want to share what my friend is going through. He was on a work trip when his whole family was kidnapped from their house in Kaduna on Sunday. They are asking for 300 million naira by the end of today. He's a government doctor, he's confused and scared. Hashtag save the Gimbas." This was a tweet put out 5 days ago, and the latest update is that his son, Victor, who was meant to be 15 in October, was killed. Our hearts go out to the Gimbas, and our hearts go out to Musa, the father, Musa Gimba, the father, and the man who unfortunately is having to deal with all of this. Now, just to mention that the Nigerian Medical Association is set to honor Governor Ubasani for his contribution to the healthcare sector. They say that a number of his contributions include distribution of medical equipment and supplies to 290 primary healthcare centers, and allocating 15% of the annual budget to healthcare. The people who contribute to ensuring that your healthcare is thriving are your doctors, and one of your doctors right now needs your help, dear Governor Ubasani. And dear Nigerians, as much as you can, please reach out as well to help. And that's all that we have this morning on Breakfast Central. Thank you very much for joining us. It's a rainy, rainy day here in Lagos, Nigeria. So everyone, please drive with care. If you don't have to go out, please sit down at home.
If you need to have any meetings and you're supposed to be there physically, please do it virtually.
Absolutely.
All right, so you can reduce the number of cars on the road. And
the floods are not looking good at all.
Make life easy. And by the way, a quick one. the Lekki Aja Ekpe Expressway
Yes, please.
is a beehive of, I would say it's a death trap.
It's
Too
terrible.
many holes.
Can we please appeal to the government to help us fix Lekki Ekpe Expressway? Every day our cars are facing, turbulence on those roads. You're moving through the roads, your tires are bursting. It's bad enough that we have to deal with the flood and the impact it has on our cars. We also have to now deal with our tires bursting, and then now have to risk our lives on these roads.
And then there are the area boys on the road.
Yes.
If your car breaks down, even in
They're
the
waiting
rain,
to
they
collect
gather
money.
and tell you how much that you can't fix the tire. You have to pay 20,000 naira.
So please.
What are we doing?
Government, help us. We're calling for your help. The Lekki Ekpe Expressway is bad. It is bad and it needs some redemption. Thank you very much. I'll be back again same time tomorrow. I am Olive Emodi.
I'm Joe Hansen. We'll see you again tomorrow. Stick around. We have more coming your way here on News Central.